Okay, shall we? Now?
Okay, sure.
Okay. Good morning, America. Good afternoon, Europe, and good evening, Asia. My name is Shai Zeltzer. I'm with TAPKIT, or the Teshuva Agricultural Projects. We're going to talk this evening about hydroponic as a profitable micro farming business. We're in this business for close to 20 years. Myself with a very strong background on post-harvest. And without any further delay, let's jump into it. The presentation is going to be very practical. And we're going to take about real-life conditions. Feel free to ask questions using the chat. Avner will bring in the questions during the presentation so that we can address those questions in a timely manner. And let's move on. On our agenda for this evening is first we're going to talk about what is the definition for hydroponics. We're going to look at global trends and a bit on the regulations. We'll talk about hydroponics methods. There are different hydroponics solutions. And in particular, we're going to focus on NFT. We'll talk about NFT basics. And then we'll drill down into TAPKIT, which is one model for micro farming. Somebody needs to be put on mute there. And we'll share with you business models around the world, different concepts for hydroponics, and we'll look at the financial model, because at the end of the day, we're talking about business here. So first of all, hydroponics, there is a wide definition around the world. For hydroponics is referred to as a general name for soilless production. And the narrow definition that we're going to talk about this evening is about growing systems that are based on a liquid nutrition formula. Why hydroponics? It's a global trend. If you follow the news, if you look at the motivation around the world, people are looking for all this list of characteristics. We're looking at a sustainable growing method. We're looking at saving on inputs, systems that are using less water and less fertilizer due to the nature of those operation systems. We're looking at a higher yield. We're trying to increase the yield per acre, per hectare, compared to the existing systems. There are a lot of soil areas around the world that become not fertile for various reasons, and hydroponics give an answer for this request. Food safety and food security becomes a critical issue. On food safety, we can look at runoffs on open fields, especially issues that happened in California in recent years and in the Far East, with soils contaminated with heavy metals or heavy fertilization procedures over the year, or with fungicide and pesticides. So if we're looking at food safety, going into hydroponics can serve this goal very efficiently. And food security also, to bring the product very close to the market and to assure that we can have year-round production regardless of the climate conditions. For example, looking at another point is plant protection. We're looking for growing methods that will require less use of pesticides, less use of herbicide. And by nature, hydroponics are grown in an enclosed environment. And this will help in that regard as well. We're looking to reduce the dependency on environmental factors. With climate change around the world, we want to be less dependent on weather, and growing indoor brings a solution for that issue. And the two last things that becomes very much important in recent years is the locally grown. People like to know who the grower is. People prefer to consume produce that is grown in the close vicinity to where they live. And this takes us to field to fork. People want to have fresh produce. And fresh produce, although, as mentioned, I'm coming from this area of post-harvest, there are packaging to extend shelf life, but there is nothing better than harvest and deliver it straight to the store, straight to the shop, or to the table. There are various alternatives to hydroponics, various growing system, which we're going to tap on each one of them. The top three more deeply and the other two very shallow. First is vertical farming. A lot of money has been invested in this particular area. The big names putting their money into indoor production. I'll go deeply into it in a couple of minutes. Deep water culture is another method, growing in the water beds. NFT is the third one that we're going to deal with. Two small or niche alternatives are the aeroponics, basically using a spray of nutrient solutions that spray around the roots that are hanged out in the air. And using that method, the plants are growing. But it's a very niche market. It's mainly used in research, in some demos. There is no real commercial scale operation of aeroponics. And the last one that is very sexy as well is aquaponics. This is basically growing of leafy vegetables alongside with fish, and the exchange of the fish pond water and the water in the hydroponic solution leaves kind of in balance where the fish produce the nitrogen needed for the plants, and the plants filter the fertilizers before the water going back to the fish. As I mentioned, it's very sexy, but it's not very practical because it's very complicated to keep the two in balance. The production of lettuce and the size of the leaves. The requirement of a young lettuce is different than mature lettuce, and the requirement of the young fish is different than the full-size fish. So to do it at home as a hobby, that's fine, but not coming to become a real business. Let's dive into vertical production. If you look at the media, millions or billions of dollars are invested in vertical production. On every presentation that is looking to raise money for vertical production, the first slide will say that in 2050 the world will count for 9 billion people, and the next slide is going to be how we're going to feed them. And here comes the vertical production as a suggested solution for these requirements. Well, we can debate on whether or not leafy vegetables are going to feed the world. Well, where most of the world is fed on grains, soy or wheat or barley and corn. That's the main source of diet, but still there are big investments that are going into this area. And what is in vertical farming? Well, we're looking at in an enclosed environment. Normally, production is in different layers, different stories. There will be the nutrient solution that either is going to be in ponds or or will flow through the system. There will be light source, which is very important in this case because we're not having access to the sunlight, so we need to compensate for that and provide light for photosynthesis artificially. So LED is being used in this case. We're looking at power source to supply all the needed power supply. We're looking at issues with requirement for aeration of the facility. Goes into that AI and monitoring, and in some cases it's manual, and in other cases automatic planting and harvesting. So that's the basic of the system. Here are a few examples where several of the big names that are in this that operates in this area, in-farm for large-scale facilities, indoor facilities, or vertical farming and freight farms that are offering a container model.
Maybe just to add, just to explain the difference between the large scale and the small scale, and why are we concentrating on the small scale here in the presentation?
Okay, so the presentation this evening is going to talk about micro farming, family farm, a farm that serves the close community. So I just mentioned the large scale, the in-farm size of farms, but our entire presentation is going to focus on how a family or an entrepreneur can get into hydroponics and make it a successful and profitable business. So the equivalent for a small farm will be, in this case, the container. And a container can grow the product in a couple of ways, either as a green wall, that's what we see here on those slides, the vertical farm at the top and freight farm at the bottom. We're looking at the compact growing area. It's normally a 40-foot container. Again, as with all indoor, we need artificial light to provide the energy for photosynthesis. We're looking at the activation aeration. It's something that some people tend to ignore, but you need to have air movement. Otherwise, you'll have disease and issues with lack of carbon dioxide to feed the plants. So movement of air is very important. And we're looking at a yield of anywhere between 4 to 8 metric tons, which is equivalent to 9,000 to 8,000 pounds per year per container, per 40-foot container. There is a bit of noise. That's a container that I was taking photos of last week. It stands next to one of the supermarkets in Israel. This is by one of the providers, and we're looking at the pros and cons on vertical production. So first of all, the investment is relatively high. There is high tech in this container. We put a lot of technology, and technology costs money. So around 150, that's in that area for the 40-foot container. The operational cost is also on the high side. Why? Mainly because of energy. Because there is no free energy. We have to provide the energy for the light, for the photosynthesis, and we have to provide the energy for the air circulation, whether it's air conditioning or just fans, but we still need the energy for that. The potential ROI, we're looking at 6 to 8 years per container. Talking about plant protection, there will be a claim made that since it's an enclosed environment, then the product is protected. But bear in mind that in order to get into the container, you'll have to open the doors. When you open the doors, the operator gets in and the bugs gets in alongside with the operator. There are ways to try to avoid it, but he needs to take some measures. Looking at produce quality, as we can see here from this short video clip, and also from the photo here at the top, it looks like not the strongest lettuce out there. It's a bit Atlantic, a bit long, a bit light in color. And when we look at a unit that is been operated for quite some time, we see a lot of empty spaces or product that is not necessarily developed as on the first planting. In general, that's something that I use also at home when you work with a contractor and the job is been done and it looks great. I'll wait with the recommendation for a year or so to see how things evolve. Is it still as good as it looked at the beginning, or we're going to find some things that I'm not necessarily happy to recommend that job? And in this case, that's what we see here. Now, regarding maintenance, of course, high maintenance is required for that system, all the automation or the lighting system and the aeration system. And talking about ergonomics, I'm just looking at these two pictures here. One is working on the knees, which is not the best idea. And I'm looking at this person or about her, what are they thinking? How the hell I'm going to reach to these lettuce up there? So the need for using of a ladder or a box to stand on for harvesting is something that is not necessarily very convenient. So that's about.
Just a reminder for you people. If anyone have any comments or questions, you can just put it on the chat, and I will publish it and we will discuss it if needed. Please, Shai.
Okay. The next method that I would like to present is DWC, or deep water culture. The basics of this system is that we have a big water reservoir, normally about say 50 to 20 centimeter deep. In it, there are the platforms or styrofoam trays or any apparatus to hold the plants, and the plants are hanged with the roots in the system. The pond is filled with a nutrient solution, and there is another device to aerate it, to increase the oxygen concentration in the water. Here are a couple of options. We're looking at the water beds that either are lifted or on the ground. This one is on the ground. In this case, it's lifted on construction that is about 30 to 50 centimeters above ground. The system can be either static or RFS. RFS stands for rotating field system. Rotating field system would be something that of this kind. So these trays, after planting, will be pushed sideways, and on the other end, ready to harvest trays will be pushed towards the service path. We're looking at a relatively high water volume. As mentioned, the water depth is going to be anywhere between 20 to 50 centimeters, covering the majority part of the greenhouse, and that's a lot of water, a lot of volume of water. Air pumps will be needed to increase, as you can see here, will be needed to increase the aeration or the availability of oxygen in the water. The plants absorb oxygen through the roots, and it's very important not to create the conditions for suffocation of the plants. In terms of access paths, let's say around 30% of 25 to 30% of the greenhouse is dedicated to paths, so that the operators can walk around and treat the product, plant or harvest. As mentioned, using growing trays or planting pots, or sometimes the plants are planted directly into the holes. About the yield, we're looking at 6 to 8 kilograms per square meter, or 13 to 20 pounds per 10 square foot. Pros and cons. Investment is relatively low. The very simple system will have just one layer of bricks around the perimeter of the bed. There will be a material that is not permeable to water, even thick plastic, and that's it. And you can put the styrofoam trays and plant the plants in it, and that's a very basic system. And if you go into a higher investment, it will have some kind of a construction or frame, metal frame, to increase it so that you don't have to work bending your back or bending your knees. This takes me to ergonomics. That is so with the deep water culture system. Regarding sanitation, as you can tell from this picture, is an issue that needs to be dealt with. But it's more important the sanitation of the water. Imagine the big pond of water. If something happened and it gets contaminated by some kind of a disease or a pathogen of that kind or another, the handling of that or curing of this system is fairly complicated. Oxygenation is something to take into consideration. It's very, very important. Without oxygenation, the systems are not working, especially at high temperature, where the level of dissolved oxygen drops dramatically. The pros in this system is that even at high temperature, the temperature of the water will remain relatively low compared to the environment or compared to other systems. And in terms of maintenance, generally speaking, it requires low maintenance, except for the pumping system and the regular sanitation. The next technique that we'll spend a majority of the time on is NFT, is a nutrient film technique. The basics of this system, again, we have a water reservoir, a nutrition solution reservoir with gullies or trenches holding the plants, and the water solution is being circulated through the gullies and back to the water reservoir. A pump will push the nutrient solution through the system, and that's basically it. That's how a typical NFT operations look like. All the tables are tapered, so one side is higher than the other. The gullies or the trenches are going in one direction. Water is being pushed, fertilizer solution is being pushed through one end and flow through the channels collected in a gutter on the other end, and this gutter leads to the central water reservoir. That's how it looks through the gutter. This is a cross section in a typical gutter. So we see on the left-hand side the plants as they look just after planting. As you can tell, the gutter is not filled with water. It's a film of water that runs at the bottom of the gully. The geometry of the gully is very important. We need the roots to touch the solution. The roots then developed, and you can see them spread across the gully itself. And here at the harvesting stage, the roots kindly feel the bottom of the gully. I'd like to take your attention to this specific geometry of the gully, and I'll elaborate on that here. This is just recent from our R&D. The former gullies that were used are just like regular gullies used for electricity. Then the internal shape was changed a bit, and this is a new variety with better insulation around the roots. And if we look at the result, these two trays, these two gullies, pictured here from the top and here from the side, compared to the regular gullies. So we can see the different development of, in this case, the Solanova lettuce. The size of it, the overall development of and physiology of the lettuce is improved. NFT models, there are several models used in NFT. We're talking about a fully manual NFT, which we're going to focus on this presentation. There are semi-automatic for a larger scale and fully automatic for large scale, normally single type of lettuce in production. This is really industrialized lettuce production in this using this fully automated system. Here is how it looks. The semi-automatic is using manual transplanting. We can see the person here taking the product from the nursery and position or transplanting the plantlets into the gullies. The gullies are fed with nutrient solutions. They start very close to one another, and with the time, an automatic system spread them or space them along the gable to leave space for the lettuce to grow, and harvesting will be done again manually on the other end of the gully. A typical hydroponics or a typical NFT greenhouse will look like that. Part of the gables have recently planted plantlets, the very young stage. Another gable will have more mature, and the others in other areas, the product will be fully mature and ready to harvest. And this allows for a continuous supply from one facility. So there are no waves like typically happens in open fields. What crops are suitable for hydroponics or specifically for NFT? Well, everything that grows within 3 to 4 weeks from plantlets to harvest. And the reason for that is what we saw before. Those roots that develop inside the gully, we cannot afford for the roots to slow down or to block the nutrient solution movement. And therefore, we're looking for product that is relatively short in their growing cycles. And this takes in account all the various lettuce, mizuna, bok choy, basil, rocket, quite a wide range of leafy vegetables and fresh herbs. And also part of the herbs that has multi-harvesting, like mint, oregano, or thyme. Some of them you grow and harvest in one cycle, and in other cases, you'll grow and you'll harvest and you leave the plants for another 1 or 2 cycles before you remove them and put new plantlets in. The advantages of the NFT system is first and foremost the ergonomic. The gullies are normally positioned on supports at about waist level, so you can operate standing straight, not bending your back, not bending your knees. Easy access to the whole area for planting. Being separate from the ground, the area of production is very clean and very safe. And we can see here the planting phase of, in this case, bok choy in the greenhouse. Also for harvest, you can see here several operations. Harvest is very clean, very easy, very fast, very efficient. Harvesting or planting of various crops. The other thing that this system allows is for packing in the greenhouse, which saves a lot of time and also extend the shelf life of the product. You know, as soon as this bok choy is being harvested and the roots are removed, immediately it's put into the clamshell or the packaging, and these are removed from the greenhouse into the cold storage facility. And this way, the work is not only done very efficiently, but the shelf life and freshness of the produce is being kept to the best condition. There are several, facts and fiction about hydroponics. Looking at these gullies, you might think that since there is no water buffer in comparison to deep water culture or to field-grown product, even the shortest water halt or water shortage will result with colossal damage. So the entire field is going to die. So that's one claim. Probably this slide would be the best to demonstrate it. It's a recent installation in one of the warmest places that I've been to at 45 degrees centigrade in the afternoon. So these plants, right after planting, suffered from, not right after planting, for maybe a week after planting, suffered from electricity shortage. Water was not flowing for a couple of hours. We came to the greenhouse and to see the plants, dying, and restarted the water supply. And this is about a week to 10 days later. The exact same plants, they revive, they absorb the water, and they continue to grow. There might be some delay. So if the production of this lettuce could be harvested in 3 weeks, this water shortage might extend it by a day or 2 or 3, but it won't kill the product. The product is, the system is a lot more resilient than one might think. Same about nutrients buffer. Fertilizer errors could be fixed very easily. If there is a shortage of specific fertilizer, within a short period of time, you'll notice that on the leaves it will turn yellow, or the veins will be green, and in between the veins there will be some yellowish color. And since the nutrient solution is fed directly to the roots, the correction is very easy and very rapid. And for the last
we should mention that this, of course, doesn't say that it grows by itself and you don't have to visit the greenhouse, but it means that the cost or the price of a mistake is not so big, and it's reversible.
This is a very correct comment, yes. Regarding crops, the claim is that every crop could be grown in hydroponics, and as mentioned earlier, the limiting factor is the size of the gully itself. We don't want to block the channel with the roots. There are different methods to grow fruity vegetables like cherry tomatoes or cucumbers in NFT, but it requires either different varieties or different gullies that has a little more volume for the roots to develop during the growing cycle. Lettuce and cucumbers would be like around 90 days, and tomatoes even up to 6 months. So the advantages of NFT is first, efficient utilization of the growing area. Since the gullies are movable, they're resting on frames, it's very easy to move them, so there is no need for a lot of paths around it. you can move the gullies and get into the tables to maintain the system. It's very ergonomic, as we saw. Very high operation efficacy. You can utilize the majority part of the greenhouse. The uniformity of the yield, it's the closest as there is for industrialized production of leafy vegetables and fresh herbs. The uniformity is exceptional. There is no downtime between cycles. What I mean by that, comparing to growing in open fields, there is no cultivation needed between crops. You just harvest one lettuce, wash the gullies, or in some cases even washing is not necessary, and immediately you can transplant new plantlets into the same position. And this way you can reach, say, up to even 14 cycles in a year time. Reduce water and fertilization costs substantially compared to open field. We're looking at about 1/4 to even 1/10 of the water and fertilizer compared to the open field, since we're working in an enclosed system with the water and fertilizer circulating through the system and not running off or draining below the root zone. And as we saw, the system is very resilient and easy to correct when needed. What is TAPKIT? With all the experience that we had in hydroponics over the years, requirement came in recent years, last 5 years, to come up with a small-scale hydroponic. Not for large company, not for deep pocket entrepreneur, but as a family farm. The question was, is it possible to develop a system that could be installed in the backyard of an individual and become a business for the family? So we put to ourselves a target of a price for that, a return on investment that we wanted to see. And we were required to engineer it only once, to come up with something that is a kit. And let's see what this kit includes. There is a short video clip that I suggest that we look at first, and then we'll dig into the details.
TAP is proud to present TAPKIT, Grow Your Own Hydroponic Produce. The TAPKIT is an affordable hydroponic business. Our unique NFT hydroponic systems enable year-round production of high-quality leafy vegetables and fresh herbs. You only have to take care of the land preparation, and within less than a month for construction, the greenhouse is ready for planting and producing. And your small business will generate income 6 to 8 weeks later. The entire kit is delivered in a container which contains everything you need, from greenhouse foundation to produce packaging, including a 500 square meter plastic covered tunnel, hydroponic gullies and supporting frame, nursery equipment, irrigation and fertilization system, packing station with refrigeration. It also includes an advanced management app for professional day-to-day operating of the TAPKIT, from production and packaging to maintenance and troubleshooting. TAPKITs are already installed all around the globe in various climate areas with outstanding results. TAPKIT makes hydroponics accessible to small and medium-sized growers, amateurs and family farm, resorts, schools, community farming, organizational kitchens, and more. For the first time, hydroponic is made super simple to install, operate, and easily produce healthy and clean leafy vegetables and fresh herbs to supply the neighborhood market. So why do you need the TAPKIT? Because it is a smart business, an affordable investment with a short ROI. Because it is simple and easy. Easy to install, easy to operate, and no experience is needed. Because it is sustainable and it helps our planet. because it helps people consume healthier, fresher, and safer food that is locally grown. So join us for the hydroponic revolution. TAPKIT, affordable hydroponic business.
Okay. So this system that you saw under construction with the tractor leveling the ground took place in March of 2018. This was the first one, and many others followed since then. In this particular site, this grower now have 5 units of TAPKIT and is servicing a larger area. And also many ideas comes with the time for the applications of TAPKIT, not only as a family business, but also for other applications, and we'll talk about it a bit later. But let's look into TAPKIT. What does it include? The concept was to have a package that includes everything you need to start a business, so that you don't have to look for parts or elements or anything else. After the installation, you're ready to grow, and a few weeks later to start to harvest. If we look at the typical TAPKIT, it has the entrance on one side, the irrigation center that we have here, a nursery area that you can grow, put the seeds and grow your own plantlets, and then the entire table of the NFT. On a side view, that's how it looks. The water reservoirs, water and nutrition solution reservoirs, the growing gullies, the nursery area with the trays for growing the seedlings. There is a specific chamber for germination. There is water and a refrigerator and packing area. And that's how it looks. That's the germination chamber to provide the conditions for the seeds at their very first stage of germination, and then growing off the plantlets to later on be transferred into the gullies. These are the growing gullies. As you can see here, the TAPKIT's idea is to grow a large variety of products, say 10 to 15 different crops, to provide a range of crops, a variety of crops in one basket for the local community. We're looking at the head irrigation. Fertilization is being supplied, the water tanks with the fertilization solution and the equipment to measure the water chemistry to make sure that the system is balanced and is right for the product. Also provided is packing bench with a refrigerator that is big enough to hold the supply for 2 days. Cart to move the product from one place to the other, and also a bag sealer to make sure that, as mentioned, you don't have to go to the store to buy anything. One thing that we added in the last couple of years, there is a lot of know-how that goes into production. It seems to be very easy, but a lot of questions comes to mind, and a lot of information needs to be processed. And in order to be able to support a large community of growers, of hydroponic growers around the world, we developed this hydroponics application that has everything that you need, all the experience that we have accessible in your palm. In this hydroponics, the features that are available, there is a planning part with different methods. For example, as you can see here on these bars, you can either decide on a crop by percentage. We are selecting the crop, the Solanova in this case. decide on what percentage of the greenhouse we want to dedicate for this crop, or what is the amount in kilograms or in pounds that we want to have of this crop, or what's the number of packages per week that we want. Any way that is easier for the operator to select the crop. And after selecting the production required, the system immediately will result, or the output will be how many plants are needed, when do you have to seed them, when are you going to transplant them, and all this information to help with planning. The other feature is collecting of harvesting data. So when we harvest, we can check the weight, check the count of crop, so that we can, it's a learning system. So we want the system to be better in projecting the yield and help us to plan ahead. Then the collection of the harvested information, harvested crop, is very important. There's also continuous monitoring of the elements or parameters that are important for the production, including EC, electric conductivity, and pH, temperature, relative humidity. There is a wide section of question and answers regarding technical questions or agronomic questions. Plant protection is being addressed there as well. Part of the hydroponics is the daily routine. What do you have to do coming into the greenhouse? What's the first thing that you have to do? What you have to look into? What are your periodical treatment and maintenance that are required? And it's all included in the calendar of operation, for the operation. Basically, the hydroponics provides a very close professional support. We also provide agronomic support in addition to that. So if an entrepreneur or agripreneur would like to get into hydroponics, what qualifications are required? We like to say that birth certificate is enough, but with quite a few installations that we have around the world, I'd like to add that you have to be very careful about what you're doing. You have to follow protocol. You have to be, aware of changes in the greenhouse. It's relatively easy, but it's not a standalone. It's not a self-driver operation. Everybody can do it, but it needs to be done professionally with care. I'd like to share a few numbers on the TAPKIT. So we're looking at an investment. It's based in Israel and Europe. We're looking at an overall investment of $100,000, including installation. In the US, it's a bit more because the greenhouses over there are a little more pricey. We're looking at crops per year, about 11 to 13. In a warmer climate, you can even reach 14 cycles per year, or an annual volume of, say, 125 lettuce heads or 250,000 fresh herbs bunches. Assuming a selling price of $1.50 to $2.50 per unit, we're looking at an annual revenue of $200,000 to $250,000. The operation of a TAPKIT unit could be, the entire operation tasks could be done by one worker or sometimes with a helper, so up to 1.5 workers. And the annual profit that we're looking at is about, net profit we're talking about, is about $40,000 to $65,000. The more the produce is sold to the end consumer, the higher the annual profit. What have we accomplished around the world during these years? So our base is in Israel, and you'll see quite a few installations here, very near 50. I think that by the end of this year, we'll have 50 installations completed. There is TAPKIT in Poland, in France, and Switzerland, and several TAPKITs in the islands, the Aruba, and we just recently finished one in Palau, in the Philippines. There are several installations in South Korea and Mauritius. Each one, I'll share a few slides here. Each one comes from a different prospects or different idea. The first one in the Philippines, for example, the investor in this case looked at franchised farms with a joint marketing. The idea was to help farmers to install with financing and installation of TAPKIT, where the marketing to the high-end restaurants in Manila would be done by one organization. So this is the installation there. In South Korea, this was a different idea. It came as a crowd funding of a few entrepreneurs that came from the high tech, and they were looking to change jobs and go back to agriculture, but not to the agriculture of their grandparents, walking behind the ox in the field, but more advanced. So looking at supplying food service and some kind of an agreed supply of fresh greens, or selling of those greens in the kitchen or dining room at the high-tech companies. That's how it looks there. This system was installed about 4 years ago. It stands quite strong storms, quite tough weather, and the specific design of that allows for a continuous successful production. In Mauritius, a different concept, a resort with a chef that wanted to have locally grown leafy vegetables, especially fresh herbs. He came up with the list of product that he wanted, and the entire kit is growing the product that is later on is served to the kitchen of Lux Resort. And that's how it looks. Israel, tiny little country, but with nearly 50 TAPKIT units almost all across the country, servicing the communities, servicing the restaurants. This is the first unit, as you saw in the video clip. As mentioned, the majority of the TAPKIT owners did not have any previous experience in agriculture. So this guy that is doing planting here, he comes from the finance business. He's a broker, and on his spare time, in the afternoon, he's trading stocks. But during the day, he spent the time in the farm with his father-in-law, growing and servicing the local community.
Shai, a question from Herman. How do you manage the disinfection in the greenhouse?
The disinfection, there are several ways. We're using combined alternatives to reduce the infestation and to reduce the effect of bugs. It will be traps, as you can see, hanged here. There will be use of green pesticides.
The traps are the yellow strips there.
Yes, yellow sticky pads that attracts the bugs, and they stick to it and reduce the need for spraying. If we'll spray, we'll use green sprays based on neem, for example, natural oils that are not harmful, or we can spread salt on the ground to deal with snails and other bugs of that kind. And for the water, the use of hydrogen peroxide treatment, for example, is helping with dealing with potential root diseases. This system in the Golan Heights attracts young people. The young generation likes very much to be productive, and using hydroponics is a very good way to get them involved and active and productive. As you could see here, the guy here removed one line of olive trees to replace them with the TAPKIT unit.
So another question still there. Giovanni is asking if it's necessary to add oxygen peroxide to avoid the biofilm.
Biofilm is not really an issue. We do add hydrogen peroxide just as a safety measure to reduce the risk for contaminants to get into the system. But we're not having any specific issues with biofilm. The other use of TAPKIT is active retirement. This couple, nearly their 70s, or he's almost 75. They started the TAPKIT about 2 years ago, working together, servicing a local dealer. They didn't want to go to the market to deal with consumers, so they signed a contract with a local dealer that they grow for him 2 types of crops, the pak choy and the lettuce, and that keeps them busy. They also make their own or grow their own seedlings. And as he mentioned, we just need Spotify and a couple of good lens for our glasses, so that we can see the tiny little seeds of the pak choy, and we're having great time together at in the greenhouse. That's walking through their operation. Another application, in this case, it's one of the small communities that would like to use the TAPKIT for educational or community enterprise and for people with special needs. Since it's a very safe environment for working, you can use it to teach production planning, to teach operation. The kids then learn advertising and marketing of the crop that they grow, a bit of financial management, and it works as an empowerment and self-esteem promoter. You plant it, you see within relatively short period of time how the crop grows, how the seed turns into plantlets, and how it turns into a crop, and learn about healthy eating. Very positive altogether. So this was another installation in one of the schools. We made this TAPKIT a bit shorter, and as you can see, it resides right in the middle of the city. This is in the center of Israel. And this is another option. It's not exactly a TAPKIT because it uses the growing system, the NFT growing system, as a retrofit of an old greenhouse. In this case, this greenhouse was used for growing of algae in the Jordan Valley. And after not being very successful with the algae, with spirulina, they decided to change and looked at hydroponics as an opportunity. And we came with the system, with the irrigation head and with the gullies and with the frames and everything. And this is the crop that you saw suffering from the heat wave and shortage of water supply. So if you come next week, if I show pictures next week, it will be already harvested. And this is the most recent TAPKIT installation in heaven. This heaven is called Palau. So this will be in production in about 3 to 4 weeks from now. Installation is just being completed, and they're going to start growing their seedlings and plants. And The same here, supply the local market with freshly grown product, a market that is used only for imported. We got pictures from really poor quality lettuce for extremely high price in this location, which just called for an installation of TAPKIT for locally grown product.
Shai, hot from the chat. Brian is saying that they have a designated module using ozone to sterilize the water. And the question from Herman is, does the ozone affect the nutrients?
The ozone, from our experience, does not affect the nutrients. The ozone is a bit challenging because so far it was not demonstrated that there is a reliable system that you can get the right dosage and maintain the right dosage of ozone to run through the system. So in some cases
it might be interesting later on when we finish on the open discussion to hear from Barry also about their system. Maybe we will learn something new.
Sure. That's
Bear with us, Barry.
Right. We're always looking for innovation and better solutions, and the system, although it's a kit, it's a continuous learning kit. We're continuously improving the design, the equipment that is used in order to be better, to have less maintenance required and better crop all year round. Looking at the ROI, maybe this is the most important thing for someone getting into a specific business, is what the ROI is. Talking to friends and presenting the hydroponics, the NFT, I always get, people are sharing with me ads or videos of different methods of growing crops. And the first question that I ask is, what is the ROI? How long will it take for the business to pay back for the investment? Or maybe in other words, how many years will it take for the business profit to cover the investment? Say it costs $100,000. How many years will it take me to pay back these $100,000 and start making profit? And maybe another question to be asked is, what is the cost of the lettuce grown in the system, whether or not the market is able to pay for it? Let's say that under artificial light, the cost of production of 1 kilogram or 2 pounds of lettuce is $25. Is anybody going to pay $25 for, or $20 or $15 for 2 pounds of lettuce? It's a question. In some markets, maybe in Japan, maybe in Norway, in the Nordic countries, maybe. But you have to look into it when you decide to invest in a project of that kind. So in summary of the various systems that we looked at, we have the vertical indoor, the TAPKIT, the NFT, the manual NFT, or the automatic or the deep water culture. Looking at investment, the highest investment is with the vertical indoor, and maybe the lowest is with the TAPKIT, as mentioned, around $100,000 for 1/8 of an acre, ready to operation, turnkey project. Operational flexibility, we're looking at the different crops that we can grow in a system. So the indoor is flexible in each layer, each shelf, each vertical. We can plant different crops, and we have access to all of them. It's very flexible with the TAPKIT, but it's pretty limited with the automatic NFT and with the deep water culture. Each bed or each gable needs to be of a single crop. We cannot have mixed crop using these systems. In terms of technology and complexity and maintenance, the vertical indoor requires very high maintenance and it's fairly complicated, where the NFT is the least complicated of all. It's very simple to operate. And as mentioned on the video clip, as I mentioned before, no previous experience is needed. It's all learnable within fairly short amount of time. We used to say that it takes a couple of months to 3 to 4 months maybe to for someone to learn how to grow and start to understand what happens around him in the greenhouse. And we know from our customers that after say 6 months they already have suggestions of what could be done and what's need to be done in this case and another, and they become professionals very fast. And in terms of payback, the vertical is very long. We didn't even bother to put numbers here because it can be many years, depends on how complicated how automated the system is. And with the TAPKIT, we're looking at 3 to 4 years to pay back the investment. We developed a financial model, which I'd like briefly to share with you. This model takes into account the data that is part of the greenhouse operation. We're looking at the number of gullies here, but everything here, first of all, I'll be able to share this with anyone that would like to play with the numbers. All the numbers that are in the framed cells are open for you to change. Number of cycles per year, 13 or 14 will change the results of the formulas. We use a very conservative approach with the yield. We say that for the first year we're expecting only 65% production in the greenhouse, in the TAPKIT, and in the second we're going into 85%. A very good grower could go higher than 90%. A very not good grower that starts will be at say 50% at the first year, but this is about the range. All the other parameters are here. What is going to be the size of the packaging that you're going to use, the cost of the investment. We see here the greenhouse and the hydroponic system together at $110,000. The other expenses, everything together comes up to about, let's say, 137 in this case. The water consumption per day, the packaging, the plants, all these data parameters are included in this model, including the energy. And we go into the model where each individual will plug his own numbers. What is the minimum wage? As mentioned, it can be operated by one person or 1.5 person in this case. What is the minimum wage? Is there a manager needed for the facility, or whether or not you want to allocate some expenses for someone to manage the operation? What's the cost of the electricity or the cost of water? And then allocation of the percentage of the different crops in the greenhouse, and whether it's going to be packed in a clamshell, in bags, or not packed at all, naked. All of these parameters will affect the price. What's going to be the price that you're going to sell the product for? And it all adds up to present the percentage of the labor in the cost of goods sold, the water, the electricity, and the consumables. And if we jump into the P&L, we can see how the P&L looks, the EBITDA, and as mentioned, in this case, it's about 3 years to cover the cost of the investment. Now, in different market, it can look different. The cost of labor is different. The cost of energy is different, the price that the commodity could be sold for is different. For example, in Palau, the head lettuce is being sold for $7 US, quite expensive. It changed dramatically the return on investment on this model. And I think that that's it. Let me see. We have another slide here. Okay. So in summary, why TAPKIT? We're looking at detailed plannings of the entire system. We thought over the years about everything. There is a dedicated operation app that helps starting the production and running the production. There is a professional support. I'm very proud to say that of all these installations that you saw on the map, even not one of them is been abandoned or had to bring money from home to pay for the running costs. They're all operational. They're all very successful. Some are a lot more successful than others. Others are according to the plan. There is technical support during the installation. We've done quite a few during COVID, quite a few installations in remote. The installations in the Philippines, for example, were supported over WhatsApp, video clips, and the locals, they just got the container and installed it all by themselves. We have worldwide experience. You could see the various climate areas from arid desert areas, very warm areas, to the stormy weather of South Korea or humid condition of the Philippines. We can provide the marketing support. We actually are now negotiating with a marketing platform to provide together with the TAPKIT. So it's going to be very easy to to start your own local online store and sell your product using this platform. And with the time, we'll have the TAPKIT community that supports each other with ideas, with suggestions, with comments. So what else can you ask for?
So Shai, first of all, thank you.
Sure.
Two things. One, we will share with all the participants a recording of this video. You're all invited also to follow us on LinkedIn, on our YouTube, or on Facebook. Now we are open also to questions. If you want to open your cameras, you're of course invited. Barry, we will be happy to hear about your ozone system. So thank you, people. If you're shy, you can also put your questions on the chat, of course. Yes, please, Mamadou.
Thank you for this presentation. It's really, for anybody interested in hydroponics, whether it's just as a hobby, commercial, we know that we have to be looking around a lot of places to have information. I like to thank you for having consolidated so much in one place. Really, this is great. And not only just talking about the topic, but gathering all the information about the pros and cons of different systems, explaining them. For anybody interested who has been studying this or practicing, there is nothing new. But the thing is, within 1 hour, you have everything in one place. So, and I hope this presentation will be shared, unless if there is any commercial rights attached to it, which we will understand. We
will share it. It's open information. It's a service that we provide to our clients and for everyone who is interested in hydroponics.
Oh, very well. So I guess my question is more like a comment. I know I would probably find information if I spend some time on your website, but it's such an opportunity to have all of you there. It's like we see, investments, return on investment and things like that. I think I was able to capture that. We're talking about a kit that will cover 500 square meters, but how much you invest, is it the $100,000 and all this? And I think it varies depending on where you want the system to be installed. I myself, for instance, I'm in Canada. I'm based in Canada, but my operations are in Niger. I was happy to hear when you said desert environment. So definitely it's a very hot and dry. That's one of the issues that we have when you're contacting people for constructing greenhouse. Most of them are specialized for the European, temperate or the cold Canada. Here, I'm in Canada. We have the best greenhouse builders, but they are for cold, for snow. Everything is how to control, to heat it, how to withstand snow. And myself, I'm concerned about how to aerate, to ventilate, to make it cooler. And I don't care really, we don't have strong winds in Niger, in West Africa, stuff like that. So is that information available for somebody on your website to find how much will it cost? Is it something that is customable? Is it required? Do you have a minimum acreage requirement, transportation cost and stuff like that? I know I may find it, but do you have to, if you were to guide somebody, how to find that information?
I will provide the general answer to your question, and of course you can communicate with me directly. But in general, we have 3 models. One is tropical, one is for mild weather, and the third one is for cold climate. We do have a lot of experience, of course, on the hot climate. So we do have solutions also for the desert. Costs are almost the same for the system. The only changes in price are if we have to change a little bit the greenhouse type or to add climate systems, either for cold or for hot. So in the end, when Shai mentioned the $100,000, anyhow, the cost will range between 80 to 120. So this is the frame. Of course, if you will need something specific, please communicate with me, and you will get a quote.
So in some cases, you'll need a generator if you don't have a stable power supply, or you'll need a desert cooler to lower the temperature, or a chiller, or a heater. And these are all adds-on to the standard TAPKIT unit.
Very good. Oh, I didn't realize my camera was on and it was blurry. Sorry.
Now we see also
it was on, but we saw your roof, your ceiling.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, please, Francesco.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for the nice presentation. I was wondering if you suggest also, or like bring in the package like some kind of sensor to monitor everything that is going on with the plants and the greenhouse.
Yeah, we can install. We can have sensors installed to monitor the temperature and to monitor other conditions in the greenhouse, with alerts set to be sent to the operators in case of any failure with the critical elements in the system.
And from the plant perspective, like plant physiology stuff, do you have some kind of sensor to keep track, or it's not in your business plan?
What specifically are you referring to?
Like plant temperature sensors, or
actually it's the opposite way, because we create the conditions, we do not have to measure it. This is the big advantage of the NFT system, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that what you're referring to is mostly sensors that are attached to either leaves or trunks or stems or fruits out in the orchard, or cameras. Well, all of these add-ons could be added, but it's not necessarily required for the regular successful operation of the system.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome, Francesca.
Okay, see, so there are no further questions. So thank you, everybody. We will share the information with all of you, and we are open for any further questions in the future. And Shai, of course, thank you.
Thank you very much.